So we're going to move on to another project. I think we've got Emma and Liselle, and Not Your Circus Dog, from the Soho. Are you ready? Oh, right, here we go. Here we go.
Okay. So, shall I just explain a little?
Yeah,
Okay.
go on.
So basically, Emma and I have we've actually. Yeah, is that okay?
Yeah.
Thank you. We've co-written a chapter for a book that is coming out eventually. It takes fucking years, but anyway.
Oh yeah,
And,
it feels like it's been like 3-4 years that we've been working on the chapter.
Yeah.
But I suppose in reality it's only been just a little bit over one. Whatever. Yeah. Way too long. Go on.
Exactly. And and we were working till midnight on New Year's Eve one year. Anyway, so basically, so what we've done is about a year ago we applied to present some of our thoughts about the work that we make. We made Not Fucking Sorry, a Crip Punk Cabaret.
Crip Punk Cabaret, yeah.
Adam's here. He's one of the amazing members. Anybody else here? No. And DJ's here somewhere. So, and basically we sort of cut it, snipped it, edited it, and we turned it into a sort of dialogue for Duckie's queer fun. They did this sort of day or evening of sharing practice. So that's what we've sort of taken to read out to you this evening, to give you a bit of an insight into what we've been developing over the last sort of 3 years. Something like that.
Nearly 3,
Yeah,
2.5,
years,
I guess.
2.5 years.
Yeah.
So shall we just start reading?
Okay.
Yeah, and this is basically about 50 slides from 3 different productions: Central, Duckie at the Electric, Electric Brixton, 1,500 audience.
Soho, the R&D.
And for Bar Wotever, the RVT.
That's it. Yeah. Okay. So at the all right, let's just read it verbatim.
Let's take it from
Fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Okay. So, 29th of November, 2016. Not Fucking Sorry, which I will probably abbreviate to NFS from here on out. It was performed by 6 neurodivergent and learning disabled artists, of which Stephanie, myself, and Adam are 3 of them. This was performed at the Royal Vauxhall Tavern for Bar Wotever. And then a few days later, 3rd of December 2016, it was performed at the Electric in Brixton, formerly known as the Fridge, to an audience of 1.5K. And there was an R&D in Soho Theatre in January. Yeah, January.
2018.
Yeah, thank you.
And basically, so NFS was initially born during a 2-week, we called it the Exit Festival.
Basically every performance making diploma at Royal Central, which Access All Areas runs, has an intensive period at the end, which is known as an Exit Festival. And this Exit Festival involves group and or solo pieces being shown, which may well go on to be taken on by other theatres and performers. Misfit Analysis, hello.
Exactly. So basically what happened was, in fact, even prior to the 2 weeks, I'd been working with the students then, and then we worked about 6 of us initially, and we did a lot of devising, a lot of messy play and stuff, and what seemed to come through was that basically it seemed that the participants were really interested in making something that was sexy, that was taboo, but that was equally very political, because something that came out quite a lot during the devising and just during workshops was the constant daily discrimination that people were experiencing, particularly due to the is it ACOS? ASOS?
ATOS,
sorry.
ATOS, ATOS,
And so-
PIP assessments.
Yeah, so sort of just that balance between wanting to have a bit of fun and to say, you know, just sort of to be a bit, you know, out there, but also...
Look what you fuckers have done.
Exactly, very much that. So,
Yeah.
so sort of to find a balance with that. And my own interest was using the form of cabaret and a little bit of anti-burlesque stuff. And so I invited Simon Casson to the final sharing, and I purposely wanted to sort of offered that form to the actors who seemed to sort of embrace it, and so Simon came along, and he sensed it as a liberatory piece of performance, saying,
Well, don't know how close to verbatim this is.
It's verbatim. It is.
Oh, okay. It's the first time I've seen a piece by learning disabled and neurodivergent artists that was utterly queer, uncompromising, and energizing. It made me want to make up my own rules about how to live life. Punk is DIY. It's subversion and breaking the rules. Audiences need to be educated, and they may take a while to catch it. I can't decipher this last sentence.
As they were shocked and affronted by the performers.
Editing stuff. Okay.
By the performance.
Yeah.
So the performance actually reappropriated the freak show through a queer crip lens as a means of exposing the discriminatory and voyeuristic experiences of learning disabled and neurodivergent people.
And as part of the devising process was a cripping of stimming. So, you know how some of you might twirl your hair or gaze around the room? Others might do things that seem slightly less acceptable, like they might rock back and forth, or they might twirl their fingers in a certain way. There's an inexhaustible list of examples. But basically, stimming it's considered socially taboo, but all it is self-stimulation. It's regulating your emotions, and it's particularly associated with neurodivergent people. As far as I know, everyone of every neurotype stims in some way. It's just not pathologized when it's a neurotypical person. And we also used masks as part of the devising process to challenge stigma management. And I don't know whether we're going to be talking about this, but the masks actually became a really big part of the opening speech.
Good, and that's later right. That does
Yeah.
come in. That does come in.
Cool,
So
cool.
yeah, and the idea of the mask also was about sort of masquerading, you know, like hiding, sort of, you know, our sort of stimming. Anyway, so also we've mentioned a few times so far the word cripping. So I just wanted to say that cripping insists that compulsory able-bodiedness is not and should not be the norm, and instead it imagines bodies and desires that fit beyond that system, and that's a sort of quote-ish, sort of, you know, taken from McClure. Both crip and queer work actively against the existing oppressive systems that dictate the norm, towards a political and activist reimagining of society instead. To say that something is queer means that we are always failing to conform to a fixed identity.
Failing to conform to normate, which I think we do discuss in some of our writing.
Exactly.
We're just going to share some moments from our devising process. I've been... What?
This is basically because we took this, we read this through the other night, and this was for Duckie, so it's just a little bit, so Emma
Oh, that
Selwyn.
was when we did queer fun at Duckie's, that's
Exactly.
right.
So
That's right, that's why it's like, yeah.
Yeah.
Go on.
So you're Emma Selwyn, and
Yeah.
performer and co-deviser, and I'm Liselle Terret, director, co-deviser. Yeah. So, and Emma?
Basically, we position ourselves as crip, queer, egalitarians, feminists, I suppose.
I do.
Yeah, with our own ways of being. own ways of coming out.
Yeah, and I'm still on that journey. So during the devising process, everyone kept apologising before or after any utterance, any sharing of anything.
Yeah.
Anything.
Yeah,
In the breaks,
yeah.
during rehearsals,
All of us.
Everybody saying.
So basically, we'd basically be like, oh, sorry, I don't know if that idea's going to work. Little quote. So people would say things like, I'm sorry for being frustrated or sad or angry. Sorry for always getting it wrong. Sorry for existing. And then...
Yeah, sorry. So everyone just kept saying sorry and apologising for being in the room, for everything they were saying. And we basically made a game of it. So this is just basically an insight into just a moment of some of the little processes that we sort of played with. So we made a game of catching one another out so that we could move it from I'm sorry to I'm not sorry instead. And which actually had a very huge, profound impact on the whole direction of the performance piece. The opening of Not Fucking Sorry actually began with Emma creating a self-written declaration which she says at the beginning and repeats at the end. So if you want to just say it, do you want to perform that moment?
Just imagine that this is from the very beginning of the devising process. I'm wearing a mask, like one of those cheap transparent masks, but it's cracked. It's the only one that's cracked. And I made a conscious decision to choose that one. So, just what is it that you fuckers want? You keep calling us broken. You don't know the cracks and the scars that each and every single one of you has given us. The mental scars, the physical scars. We are sick and tired of being your circus dogs. And this is our time now. We're right here and we're not going away.
Brilliant. Good. So, honestly, it was amazing. Can you imagine, like, we're in this, basically, Emma made that up there in the rehearsal,
yeah, it was
there and then.
It was right on the spot, and amazing. I remember Stephanie saying, and I remember going, what do you fuckers want? And Stephanie, one of the other cast members, she's at the very end in the silver, she was like, calm down, we're your friend. Friend? Brilliant. Yeah, anyway.
She was being Steph was being a collaborator then, obviously.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
So yeah, as it says there, during the devising process, the challenge was how to move the actors from pride into rebellion.
Yeah, so masks, basically. Yeah. You know how you probably feel more yourself when you put on a specific costume or a mask or whatever? That was a big part of the devising process, using a disguise, I suppose, to be closer to our true selves. Like visibly flaunting and redefining what we wanted to be seen as, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there was a repositioning of identity that happened in the rehearsal room, that happens on the stage as well, when the learning disabled or neurodivergent person is revealed as a political activist, saying,
damn right, you better look. Look long and hard. Look at me, straight on, 'cause for all your years of gawking, you are still not seeing me.
Exactly. So again, and this coming out and averting what you might have heard the term, averting the ableist gaze, is similar to that, of course, as we know, of the queer coming out of the closet.
Yeah. I've mentioned masks. I mentioned the broken masks. But basically, like, because society looks at disabled people as being desexualized, sexless. Yep, I see you emphatically shaking your head. I wholeheartedly agree with you, mate. So basically, we wanted to say, just because we're disabled in some way or form, doesn't mean we can't be grown up or sexual or sexy or passionate or whatever.
And I think that, as you say here, I think the idea of the fact that you were wearing the cracked mask when you created that piece, you know, it became a metaphor through which you could speak, as you said, speaking defiantly out to the audience.
Yeah.
So just moving on to the stimming.
Okay.
You just said it was short. We've explained that it's short for stimulation.
Yeah.
About regulating emotions.
Okay.
So we compared. Shall I just?
So Actually, it sounds really weird, but I only discovered the world of stimming when I came to the world of access all areas. Like, I did stim before I came into that world, I just didn't grok that. Grok is basically like beyond getting something. So like, I'd start twitching more, moving and behaving in different ways that I didn't realise were actually true to myself. And I've always found it easier, well, okay, gender, there's some gender stuff going on which I'm still figuring out, and I'm autistic. Out of all those three, it is by far and away most difficult to come out as autistic, by a long, long shot.
So as we said earlier on, we looked at stimming and what's socially acceptable and what's not. And then we started looking at other repetitive behaviours that are taboo in society for learning disabled and for neurodivergent people, such as smoking, drinking, masturbating, flirting. Emma, ultimately. Can we just carry on with the slides again, just to keep it rolling? Thank you. Yeah.
Basically, we wanted to incorporate contradictions of taboo acts into our performance. So like, us as performers brought taboo and forbidden sexual behaviours, gender identities, desires, and other things so often denied to disabled, LD, and neurodivergent people. And we then, with Liselle's help, returned to the first place where disabled bodies were performed as spectacle. Like the freak show, the Victorian freak show, bearded lady kind of thing.
Exactly. So we had six. Well, six historically.
Basically, six freaks, as it were, six crip queer punk freak type bodies, all sizes and shapes and colours and ways of being. The intention of those bodies was to expose the audience's role in their discriminatory attitudes towards disabled people.
Exactly. So in Not Fucking Sorry, Steph, who we've pointed out before, she comes forward at the beginning. She framed in a cloud of smoke, fag in hand, slowly taking several drags of her fag. Another actor, Adam, sitting over there, tries to reprimand her, but instead she takes the mic defiantly from Emma and just says, "Oh, fuck off." She takes a drag of her fag, and then she says, "We are not fucking sorry."
That's her there, Downs.
So this is, she was 29 years old, probably about 31 now.
However old she was. Okay.
And then we have Barry, another actor.
In the brick shirt.
Who's an incredible singer and has a very marked stammer, says, when I see an
ugly person like you, I'll point and stare.
And then another actor says,
I watch porn.
Steph says, I read dirty magazines.
And I stay up way too late.
And Adam might say,
and...
Yeah, go for it. Just a few hours to go. Oh, yes.
And every free moment, I masturbate.
Woo! Well, believe it or... Brilliant, brilliant. So, of course, as there is now, there was can you imagine 1,500 people, Duckies style? There was an uproar. That's sort of like, put it out. There was an uproar of applause from the audience, followed by Barry singing "Leave Your Hat On." The other actors proudly perform their sexualities, teasing the audience as they bask in the spotlight.
And the whole piece was very unapologetic. Like, Steph would just step out of line and upstage everyone with her ways of being. And there's little declarations that we all share out to the audience. So
they would say, she would just point to someone and say, I want to kiss you.
Yeah.
I want to touch you.
I want to fuck each and every single one of you. Think Trent Reznor. Closer.
And Adam would say, you are so hot.
Okay. Oh, yes, my bad. So, you are so hot. You're like a radiator getting hotter and hotter. Oh, so glad to be back.
It's a pleasure to have you, man. Real pleasure.
This is why I was never going to finish this company.
Quite.
Okay, so Emma, in the...
So, in the finale, at the end of the piece, Fuck You by Lillian was playing in the background, and we all just stood in quite defiant positions. And then standing still, like we were just stood there, showing ourselves, and then as the song started playing, we slowly, fuck you, because we used like a remix of Fuck You, and then at some point in the song, we all break into dancing.
And basically, the audience go a bit hysterical as well.
Yeah,
and join in.
like we kind of drag them in, you know?
So in Not Fucking Sorry, we therefore threw back the ableist stare so that the, inverted commas, audience became the objects of the performer's stare. That's a quote by, I can't even say the person's name.
Eisenhower.
Thank you very much. So,
From 2007.
okay, so cool. So we're just going to, so basically, we're going to end in another Simon Casson quote because he just put it beautifully. But before that, I just want to say that what's really exciting is we ended up having a 1-week R&D at Soho Theatre with the thanks of Charlotte Bennett, which was an amazing, intensive week. And we ended up, you see the bits where the actors are just wearing sort of vests and pants. And basically, we had Esther McVeigh, bitch, doing a voiceover. It was very much around really addressing the stripping away of human rights, really. So it's sort of moving into more bit of documentary stuff in it. And so we had a really successful invited sharing at Soho Theatre. And tomorrow, we've got a meeting at the Soho Theatre to talk about another extended R&D with eventually making it into a public run at Soho Theatre, which is really exciting. So we just want to end with a quote by Simon, another quote. Shall we finish? Okay. So if I start it off and then, yep. I was going to start it off. He says, I haven't been so affected by a performance in fucking years. The ensemble was so beautiful, personal, political, sexy, wild, punk, vulnerable, tough, and so fresh.
From confessional to spectacle, smoke, sequins, stroppiness, and sexuality. Learning disabled people are often labelled as fragile and vulnerable. And yet here they were on stage, powerful bodies, glamorous, provocative, looking $1 million, telling us all, and his words are the normals, to fuck off. He also says, like Lee Bowery at this same venue in the 80s, or say early punk gigs, or the Divine David, I think he means David Hoyle, at his most provocative, the audience literally didn't know what to do with themselves.
And that's it. Thank you very much.